Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Well, the Utah Mammoth did it. They get the win. They beat Vegas 3-2. Both teams scored in the first period. It was 1-1. It was 2-2 after 2. But Vegas couldn't score in the third period, and Logan Cooley knocked a rebound in, and that was that. 3-2 the final. Logan Cooley now 2 goals in 2 playoff games. He is young, but he is coming up big. Game 3, Friday night in the Delta Center. So we got that to look forward to. We got the best of the post-game show for you right now to wrap up the Utah Mammoth's first ever postseason victory.
DJ and PK, the Utah Mammoth won their first ever playoff game on Tuesday night in Vegas, beating the Golden Knights 3-2 to tie up their best of 7 series at 1 game apiece. After Vegas took over in the third period on Sunday, erasing a 2-1 Utah lead, they picked up where they left off on Tuesday night, taking an early lead, drawing 3 of the 4 power plays and outshooting Utah 10-6 in the first period. But the Mammoth would push back. Mackenzie Weegar with the equalizer, and Utah would never trail again after he scored with 3:01 left to go in the first.
Weegar arrests her off a stick. Rebound ends up in the net. The Mammoth get a bounce, and it's the top line cashing in to tie the game. And it's Big Mac with a goal to tie things up.
In periods 2 and 3, it was all Utah, outshooting Vegas 23-11 and drawing 3 of the 4 power plays. Dylan Gunther would give Utah their first lead.
Utah makes some changes as the Golden Knights try and get this out. They cannot. Gunther, a one-timer, and he scores! Utah's master marksman delivers, and it's Dylan Gunther's first Stanley Cup playoff goal.
It was a short 2-1 lead, though. 62 seconds later, Vegas tied it in the third. All Utah again. They just needed that go-ahead goal. Logan Cooley would give it to him, and the Mammoth would keep it.
Moving in, Gunther with a burst of speed towards the net, shoots, rebound, and they score! Logan Cooley gives Utah the lead in period 3. The kids are all right.
So coming home with the home ice advantage, Game 3, Friday at 7:30. We'll be live on the SeatGeek Plaza at 6:30 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake and Ben will be broadcasting live starting at 2 o'clock as well. So come on down, pregame party on the SeatGeek Plaza ahead of Mammoth and Vegas. Game 3 of the series, Game 4 on Monday night. The time for that game has yet to be determined. Karel Vejmelka in between the pipes stops 19 of 21 for his first career NHL playoff win. Logan Cooley becomes the youngest American player in NHL history to score 2 goals in his first 2 playoff games. The previous youngest, Utah captain Clayton Keller, when he was 22 in 2000. We heard from Cooley. We heard from Gunther after the contest. Let's hear from him right now. Cooley with that game-winning goal. Gunther with the go-ahead goal and a couple of whacks on the Vegas goaltender Carter Hart before Cooley tapped it home.
This question can be for both of you, but we've talked so much about calmness and composure and poise, especially in the playoffs. How does the difference on the bench in terms of the demeanor help you guys when you're out there and keep your level head?
Yeah, it's big. I think there's a lot of emotions in these playoff games, a lot of ups and downs, and I think you have to just find a way to stay level-headed. Different things happen, good calls, bad calls, different momentum swings, and I think, we did a good job of staying level-headed, and, that's what we need to do moving forward.
Yeah, I think it's contagious, too. I mean, when everyone's lifting each other up, it's a good feeling. I think it feels like we're always in it no matter what, so I think that has to keep going.
Logan, you talked about watching these games growing up as a kid, getting those game winners. What did that one feel like tonight in your first ever, or your second playoff game? Yeah,
it's awesome. It's nice to get the win. It's a big goal and a big moment, and it's nice that we could kind of get the series tied up heading back home.
A lot of talk about intensity and bringing that for a full 60-minute effort pregame. What did you guys see out of that area of your team's game tonight?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, it's hard. I mean, you lose the first game, and the next one's important. We talked about being level-headed kind of since training camp, so we did a really good job of that, and we'll enjoy this one, take a little time off, and get ready for the next.
At what point do you feel like you guys found your offense tonight? What made the difference in doing so?
Yeah, I mean, I think throughout the game, we had some good looks early on, and it's tight checking, not a lot of room out there. It's a lot off the forecheck, rebound chances around the net. So I think we've done a good job of being good on the forecheck, getting to the net and finding some rebounds like that.
I think just chipping away. Honestly, like they had some power plays early, and kind of a choppy game. Not everybody's into it. Then we get some power plays and don't score, but just staying with it is the biggest thing. And I think our speed just allowed us to keep going at them, keep pressuring them. Even when we scored the third goal, I thought we did a really good job of just continuing to attack.
Question for both of you guys. Kailer Yamamoto got put on your line in March, and ever since then, it feels like he's just been clicking with you guys. Why does he fit so well with you guys, and how do you like playing with him?
Yeah, I mean, I think he just is such a smart player. Reads off, me and Gunnar really good. He seems like he's always in the right position, really poised with the puck. A positive guy, too, keeps, us loose, and I feel like, again, we just have a lot of speed. We read off each other really well, and it's clicking right now.
Big game for Kailer Yamamoto, one of Utah's playoff veterans, now tied for the team lead in playoff scoring. 2 assists on Tuesday night in his 36th career playoff game. The first 34 came with Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and the Edmonton Oilers. We heard from Kailer Yamamoto after the game.
Honestly, we're a very patient team. Obviously it's a 2-3 game. It's not a high-scoring game like we had at the end of the season. So just staying patient, waiting for the opportunities to present itself, and attacking from there.
We've seen this group have really successful bounce-back efforts over the course of the regular season. Why did that battle test your group in an effort like tonight to have a tied series going back home?
I think it just shows the resilience, in our group. Obviously, we had the lead going in the third. We gave up 2 and, lost the game. But, to come back and, have that performance tonight, it shows a lot for this group right now.
How have Gunther and Cooley elevated their game in the playoffs so far?
Oh, my God. These two are unbelievable. Everything they do, very easy to play with, but, for myself, and they just use their speed. They're so quick and, heavy on pucks. They may not be the biggest guys, but very heavy on their sticks, win a lot of battles.
How did you leap up and get that puck? Did you stretch all the way to go up? I'm serious. You didn't really get a great view of it.
No, I think it was right by my shoulder. But Guns made a heck of a shot. Not sure how he scored so far out, but unbelievable shot.
What did you see on your touch pass on the third goal?
I saw Guns coming. Wanted to get on my forehand, but obviously he was going a little bit too fast. So tried to touch it behind him. I caught it with speed and burnt that D, and it was a good rebound goal by Cools.
And let's get head coach Andre Tourigny after his first career NHL playoff win.
I like the way our guys respond. They were, after the first game, really even kill. They stay level in their approach, and I was really proud of them for that. And it showed tonight. A little bit of nerve early in the game. I think we weathered the storm, and I like the way we progressed during the game. I think the guys were in the right place, and we progressed. It's a hard battle. They're a good team. They're structure. So we got one.
Pre-game, we talked about keeping that high level of intensity, being detail-oriented. What did you see out of those areas of your team's game tonight?
That was good. I think, like I said, we progressed during the game. There's no such thing as a perfect game for any team in the world, but I think where a few adjustments help. There's still work to be done, but we will still need to improve, keep getting better. They will do the same, so it's a good step in the right direction, but there's a lot of work to be done.
Why are poise and patience the right words to describe this game?
Yeah, it's always, you need to have the right balance. You need to have poise, you need to be patient, you need to be aggressive, and you need to be intense. So if you figure it out, all of that, you let me know. But it's exactly what it is. You need to have a really good intensity. You need to be 10 out of 10 in your drive, but at the same time, you need to be calm. You need to be urgent, but you need to be patient. So you need to be disciplined. You need all of that. So it's why those guys are pros, and they're unbelievable.
And as far as your team getting more pucks and bodies to the net, what did you like about the adjustments from game 1 to 2?
Well, that was good. I think I always say it's a good team on the other side. There's nothing easy out there. Everything you do, you need to earn it. So I think I like certain stuff we did offensively, especially in the second half of the game. I think we took a little bit of time to be at ease, maybe in that game or something. But I like the way we react in the second half.
So the Mammoth will be coming back home today. They'll practice tomorrow, and before you know it, it'll be Game 3 against Vegas from the Delta Center. Mike Fulton and I will have you covered all week long on Mammoth Daily, wherever you get your podcasts, on Apple, Spotify, Utah Mammoth YouTube page, Mammoth Plus, and SCG Plus. DJ and PK, have a good rest of the Wednesday, and we'll talk to you coming up. We've now got a guaranteed series to go at least 5.
All right, there's the best of the post-game show, and back at it Friday and Monday, games 3 and 4 in the Delta Center. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we are going to pivot to college basketball and the NBA playoffs. Steve Cleveland giving LeBron James the career advice he never knew he needed. Plus, the portal is now closed, and if there's one thing we've noticed, it's that thing that isn't sustainable, it looks sustainable. We'll get to that next. Stay with us. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Steve Cleveland joined us yesterday. We talked a lot of college basketball. We also talked about LeBron and the Lakers. They won Game 2 last night. They beat Houston 101-94. LeBron had another really good game. 28 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. They are up 2-0 on the Rockets. We'll get to the NBA and LeBron with Steve, but we start off with college basketball. And the transfer portal is now officially closed. Kind of looks familiar, though, doesn't it? Here's Steve. Coach, good morning.
Good morning.
We've covered many times how much college sports has changed since you were the head coach at BYU and Fresno State. Recruiting's different. The transfer portal is very different. And Pika was just saying a day or two ago, we keep hearing that this is unsustainable, but it keeps happening every year. At what point are we going to say, well, it is sustainable, especially for this small group of people who have the most cash, and the people who have less cash is just sustainable at a different level? Are you starting to see the same thing? You talk to any friends in coaching? Because it doesn't seem like anything's slowing down, which means this is sustainable.
I believe it is sustainable. I don't know what it'll look like 5 years from now, but I'm okay with it, to be honest with you. I mean, it's working. It's going to, I think, as we go through this thing over the next year, 2 or 3, that I think we'll just see and we'll look back and say, yeah, this has been sustainable. This is what it is. The transfer portal is what it is, and transfers coming and going, and there's lots of change, and maybe that makes people feel uncomfortable. But I also think that there's more hope. And, a portal situation here, a transfer here, wherever the circumstances are, there's opportunities to get better. And you can turn a program around pretty quickly with a couple of transfers, whatever the circumstances are in terms of international opportunities. I don't think it's going away, and I think it's good for the game, and it's kind of what we're getting used to now. So I'm not overwhelmed by it. I think that it's going to be what it is, and there's going to be portal madness. That's not going away. And what's been kind of fun recently is, especially at BYU, where you've got guys now that are healthy, but obviously Rob Wright coming back, Colin Chandler out of Kentucky coming for all intents and purposes, coming back home and having a huge impact for BYU, and makes them much more balanced offensively. And I have one quick question for you because it's been on my mind. What is Dawson Baker's status?
I think he's going to try to get the year back and be eligible.
Okay, that's what I thought. And I thought if it was something different, you guys would know. Well, that'd be awesome if he can get it back, for BYU especially. I mean, just think a little bit about if he hadn't been hurt last year and what BYU would have looked like. There's probably a few more wins in that situation, and who knows where it could have taken him. But that'd be really cool if Dawson Baker could get his eligibility back and get that year back. Good for BYU.
Yeah, it's funny. Last year, they were so top-heavy, right, with 3 guys. And it's like if Davis or somebody else, Kostic, if they hit 2 threes, it's like you could just feel, even if you weren't there, but the fan base, all right, we're going to have somebody else who can contribute. And it would never really materialize from the offensive standpoint, and then Saunders goes out and makes it even worse.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you think that maybe it was a trial and error. They had to go in that direction because DeBonce is a once in a who knows how many year type player, so you go all in. I can see what Kevin Young is thinking, but now maybe step back, spread out the money a little bit more. You bring in a kid like Waylon who is been around. And he can hit a basket, and he's got some athletic ability. So the team may not be as top heavy, but it's a team that can have some more balance. And so maybe you don't have a 25-point scorer, but you got 2, 3, maybe even 4 guys who can hit in double figures, and it might be the better way to win.
I completely agree with you. I love the fact that you put that there's a balance in the depth of this team now. And, obviously it starts with Rob Wright, and you get a guy like Colin Chandler out of Kentucky where, he can score it and do different things, which you just mentioned. There just seems to be a different balance. And I think that, obviously there's going to be some international players. There'll be some freshman class. If Dawson Baker could get that year back, Jake Wall and, Bruce Branch. I mean, you've got situations where, man, you're getting better, and really the look of this team right now, if those things click and, you got right back, you got Colin Chandler, you're in a situation, Dawson Baker maybe is there, Bruce Branch, Jake Wall, and I mean, all of a sudden this team has more depth and more experience at different schools and different circumstances. So BYU is looking to be a great off-season for them, and who knows what's happening internationally and recruiting-wise. There's still a lot of that going on. So I think the outlook for BYU is good from what's happening with transfer portal, what's happening with guys coming back, and people getting healthy.
Michigan obviously just started 5 transfers and won the championship, so how little should high school recruiting matter going forward? Should they just be sending guys off to Big Sky or Big West schools or wherever and let them play and develop there? Is it worth having 1, 2, 3, I don't know what the number is, even 4 developmental guys on your roster?
That's a really good question. I mean, I look at this, and I think that just is going to happen through the process. That we start with a portal, we start with transfers, and how that impacts teams, guys that get healthy. I mean, you mentioned it. I mean, Michigan brings in 5 guys, and with what happens with the portal, with what happens with international recruiting, I just think that's the world we live in now, and you accept it and realize. And when you watch a team like you guys just both mentioned, where Michigan, has 5 transfers, we do whatever we got to do to win. And I don't think it's going to be some consistent process that just happens. And I just think it's going to be different year in and year out. And there's so many different ways to build a program now, and you can do it quickly. Or you can, maybe look at it more things that are more sustainable. But honestly, the world I see and what's happening is this is just how it's going to be, and the opportunity to really build a program and do it quickly through the portal or through transfers or through the international. I just think that's the world we live in. We accept it, and I think that's what coaches are doing now. We're recruiting all over the world. Whether they're transfers or whether they're international players or wherever they've come from, that's just what it's going to be, and I just don't think it's going to change.
Brian Santiago was asked about private equity. We know the Utah is interested in that and wants to do that, and he said he doesn't think that would be a situation for BYU to get involved in. And we hear that BYU, they want their sports to be self-sustaining. What did that mean for you guys as far as basketball? Did you get involved in that to make sure that whatever money you made, you were not overspending that?
Yeah, it was way different back then. I mean, the game is still the game, but how we go about soliciting new players and transfers and whatever the circumstances are. We just weren't involved in that. And today, everyone's very involved in it. We're trying to find guys that can play and win championships, and we did it kind of the old-fashioned way, just through recruiting. And yes, there were some transfers, which really helped mid-season sometimes, late season. A guy like Trent Whiting, who came in and played for a semester and had an impact, and we win a championship. So back then, there were these things happening, and there were changes. But today, it just seems like Pandora's box. It's just wide open, and I just don't see that changing personally. That's what we're looking at. That's what it's going to be, and I think everybody will be better for it. There's just more opportunities to be successful and more opportunities for a school like BYU is not only, getting a Rob Wright back, getting Colin Chandler, getting these guys as Dawson Baker were to get a year. It gives them depth and gives them an opportunity to be a really, really special team.
I want to transition to the NBA for a second. You have followed the Lakers your whole life. You went to UC Irvine. Obviously, there's tons of Laker fans in Fresno. They're all over California. And you've watched LeBron James his whole career. There's this anticipation, this guy, he's at 41 now. He's going to retire. This is it. And then you watch this playoff game. And granted, there's a lot of star power out. I think the two teams combined were missing 4 players who get paid $140 million. But his ability to take that game over, make a bunch of role players better, get 8 assists in the first period, end up with a double-double to make sure his team wins, there's still plenty in the tank there. He's not what he was, 10 years ago, but he's still a really good player. I'm sure he's dying for your career advice, Steve. Would you tell him, hey, go out while you still got something in the tank and leave us wanting more? Is it worth going to another team if you can't work it out with the Lakers? What would you tell him?
I'd stay where you are, man. He's in an area where he's beloved, and he's a guy. I mean, you look at LeBron. This past week, he goes 21, 6, and 7, has 19 points, 13 assists in a ball game. The Lakers beat the Rockets, and you're right. LeBron looked like he was, 23 years old again. I mean, it's just incredible, his sustainability. And I think he takes care of his body. We know that. We've read things, in terms of him putting himself, and he doesn't have to play, significant minutes, though we find watching these games, and all of a sudden, it's prime time, he's on the floor. And, and I think what he does, he makes that team better. I just love the fact that, he had 21, 6, and 7, had 13 assists in a recent game, and he still draws that kind of attention. And so I love watching him. I know the end is coming soon, but wouldn't it be really something special if they got on a run and got deep into the playoffs, and LeBron has a real impact on winning a championship? Now, whether he can do that over a whole period of time, I don't know. I mean, OKC seems to be a team that Minnesota has been good. Spurs, Wemby has been better than ever. And so you've got, even with the Magic, with Banchero, Wagner, Carter, there's so many great players. And the fact that LeBron is in the midst of all of that and competing and making a real difference is just a phenomena that I don't know we'll ever see again, to be honest with you. It's just hard to believe that anybody that could do what he's doing and being successful on and off the court, taking care of his body. It's just fun to watch him. And I grew up a Laker fan, like a lot of people, and not that I have a real connection, but anytime you still have a guy like LeBron, I want to watch him play. It's something we don't want. I don't want to take it for granted that I look back and think, man, I should have spent more time. I should have watched more games. This guy is a legend, and it's just fun to watch. And the fact that I grew up being a Laker fan doesn't hurt either.
And we always hear about the NBA favoring the glamour spots or the players wanting to go to the glamour spots. But do you find a level of, I don't know what the word would be, but maybe just a level of innocence in terms of it looks like the 2 best teams, or maybe I'll extend it out to the 3 best teams in the West. We'll see how it plays out. But you got They're not exactly the sexiest markets in San Antonio, Oklahoma City, and Denver. And you look at how those teams were all constructed. Obviously, a huge draft, a huge trade with SGA, but then everybody else basically was drafted and developed, which means, all right, that ought to send the message. Well, this opportunity is for everybody if you seize it.
Yeah, just watching some early NBA stuff for me. I've been kind of committed to college, and then all of a sudden here we have this league, and it's funny because when I was kind of preparing today, I thought who's having the greatest influence here, and really when you look at Wemby and what he's doing, and in a situation where you just gotta love his. I mean, he's the face of the NBA. I mean, he's going to be here for a while. Hopefully, no serious injuries and such. But you look at the Magic. You look at Banchero and Wagner and Carter and Bain, and you look at these guys now who I'm enjoying. I get so involved in college stuff. But what I'm finding, just as I am reading and watching, is that I'm kind of falling in love with the NBA again. And there's just so many really, really great stories, and it's just been fun to see that happen. And Minnesota, Denver, the Lakers, the Thunder, the Spurs. I mean, the playoffs are going to be amazing. It's going to be great, captivating basketball, and I'm excited to kind of reconnect with the NBA after spending a lot of time just on the college game and even the high school stuff. So I'm excited about the upcoming couple months and what's all going to take place here.
All right, there's Steve Cleveland. When we come back, Brian Dunseth looking ahead to tonight's game with Lionel Messi and Miami visiting RSL. That's next. Stay with us. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Brian Dunseth joined us yesterday late in the show to look ahead to Messi and Miami visiting RSL tonight. Sellout crowd expected. The secondary market, I checked SeatGeek, it's like $400 for a standing room only ticket. Crazy. Here's Brian Dunseth with PK and I on the Zone. You bounce around the league calling games. How did you happen to end up with RSL and Messi?
Well, first off, let's not imply like I had a choice. When I get the schedule, I get the schedule. So, yeah, listen, I think, obviously when the announcement happened that Lionel Messi for the first time was coming to Salt Lake City along with Inter Miami, it reminded me a lot of when Dave Checketts brought Real Madrid to play Real Salt Lake ahead of the announcement that they were breaking ground at what is now America First Field. I think at the time I was joking with you. I was like, that's like taking the New York Yankees to Timbuktu, bringing Real Madrid here to Salt Lake City. But that was the first of some really landmark moments. And understanding what the power of Lionel Messi is. I've called his games with Argentina. I've called his games with Inter Miami at the FIFA Club World Cup. I called games last season down in Miami or Fort Lauderdale, more specific, now after they've opened new stadium. And to know that the casual fan, and listen, I'm from Southern California. I had friends that went out to the Coliseum to watch LAFC beat Inter Miami, and since then have gone to multiple games at BMO Stadium, have become LAFC fans. Understanding what is kind of the idea of the circus and getting the opportunity to see, for me, the greatest of all time, surpassing Pele, Maradona, certainly ahead of Cristiano Ronaldo in my world, to know that all of kind of soccer fans or those that are aware of a guy like Lionel Messi's name is going to be in the state of Utah is not only an unbelievable opportunity for those that get to watch it, but more importantly, huge opportunity for Real Salt Lake to convert some soccer fans that aren't necessarily RSL fans. So for me, for Tio Max, really, really excited. We have got this game, and then we have the game on Saturday down in Miami against the New England Revolution. And a turbulent kind of couple of weeks with Javier Mascherano stepping down as head coach of Inter Miami and the search for a new manager for Lionel Messi and company.
You speak of Salt Lake, right, and it's a one-shot deal. How about going bigger picture in terms of what it does for the league and the sport in the U.S.?
Yeah, I mean, I think we saw that at the weekend, 75,000 at Mile High Stadium. And listen, I think it was it was a unique decision for RSL to stay and keep that game at America First Field. I think very easily, they could have gone to a bigger venue. Obviously, that has commercial and financial ramification and trickle-down effects in terms of what your entire gate take-home is. But again, I think for the league itself, it's never going to be lost on me the power of David Beckham's decision to come to the LA Galaxy. I think and I don't think he gets enough credit, to be quite honest with you. I think he changed the trajectory of Major League Soccer as a whole. I think you're seeing that with expansion slowing down and multi-billion-dollar ownership models starting to be created, especially here. I mean, who would have had soccer in Utah having four different billion-dollar owners invested over the last 6 to 8 years? So again, how does RSL take advantage of this opportunity? I'll be really honest with you. It's walking away with a full 3 points, a dominant performance, and still giving the fans what they want, which is an opportunity to see one of the if not the most elite player we've ever seen in the modern game.
Well, one thing fans want to walk away with is entertainment, and the criticism you've heard since you were playing at Cal State Fullerton for those 3 glorious semesters.
Yeah,
there's not enough goals. This game sets up as there's going to be a lot of goals. And you just mentioned the game, Miami's last game at Colorado on the weekend. They won 3-2, and Messi scored twice. RSL played later that night. They won 4-2, and that's a game that could have easily had a 7th, 8th, or 9th goal in it. There were so many good chances in that game. So both these teams set up really good attacking, got some issues defending. So, first 1 to 3 or 4 wins this game.
Yeah, I mean, DJ, you and I have done so many games together, hundreds of games together, and we suffered. Oh, boy, did we suffer on some 30-minute post-game shows.
There were some
sometimes, PK, sometimes DJ would even leave me alone for the post-game show.
He would having one time. That was an emergency.
He can tell you that story after we get off air.
That's off the air, big guy.
Bacon was calling?
Bacon was calling.
I was like, how many more segments am I doing this show by myself?
Oh, you get one segment. You mentioned it all.
I've been there.
If one segment includes 3 interviews and 2 highlight packages for
it is a long segment.
Upcoming matches. And both Kenny Neal's like, all right, well, we're going to do this. We'll see what happens. Oh, our producer, director extraordinaire.
Let's just say Chicago had to leave that stadium after I was done with it. All right, enough.
Well, what's even better is Max and I did the Sung Hyung Min debut for LAFC, and because they're playing their games downtown in Chicago now at Soldier Field, it was the first time we were out there for a conflict, and we didn't even have monitors for like 35 minutes. So trust me, that stadium is elite for all of the more indifferent reasons.
Yeah.
To
the point,
goals.
lots of goals Wednesday night, right?
Yeah, listen, I think the loss against Vancouver in the very first game of the season should have been completely different. 1-0 on the road. Since then, 6 games with multi-goals, 2+ goals per match. And what's impressive is they're doing it with the kids, obviously with Gozo and Herzakani, Solon's the draft pick. He's already at 5 goals this season. But more importantly, now you're getting Guillermo, you're getting Olatunji, you're getting Spearings. Now you're going to get Sanabria back into the side after paperwork issues. There was a lot of adversity at the start of the year, and now it's the opportunity for the first time ever for Real Salt Lake to go 5-0-0, 5 wins, 0 losses, 0 draws to start the season. And on top of that, they're an incredible run of form. So credit to Jason Christ, credit to Kurt Schmidt, credit to Tony Beltran, credit to Miller Sports and Entertainment, and credit to Pablo Mastroeni and his new staff for making some tough decisions in the offseason to head in different directions, to monetize whatever was left in the assets that were fading, and then to bring in so many different players that fit this system perfectly. DJ, you and I have been around the team for a long time. In previous ownership, it was a lean, mean fighting machine. Now you're seeing $16 million spent in this offseason. You're seeing an influx of difference makers, of game changers that are already added to the likes of Noel Kauskan, Diego Luna, Justin Glad, Rafa Gabral, etc. And you're right. This is set up for multiple games. The question is, how do you get past the impact moment of standing in the tunnel with guys like Lionel Messi, Rodrigo De Paul, et cetera, get on the field, put on a show, push away all that anxiety, and then tactically, how does Pablo get the best out of his group while minimizing everything that we already know what Lionel Messi and company are capable of doing?
And you just gave a comprehensive answer. I had about 5 questions, and you hit on all of those. So I'll move on to something else. I was going to ask you about the ownership or ask you about the surprise of the team and the youth, but you already hit on that. Last week when we had on Pablo, I asked him about Messi coming in. And I don't know, DJ, you can disagree if you want, but I got the impression that, okay, he's all that, and he's got the rep and everything, and he's an international figure, but he didn't really want to talk about that. It seemed like he wanted to talk about his team. He's saying, let's not get starstruck about him. Let's worry about ourselves. And to me, I thought maybe he would have celebrated a little bit more of this man coming to town, but it seemed more as about his club, which I think that is the focus, probably what they're going to need to be able to win, right?
Yeah, listen, I understand. We've all been around this game. We've all been around professional sports long enough to recognize when there's a certain mindset trying to be created. And, you know, we've joked around before my conversations with you guys about Pops. I was roommates with Pablo on the national team. I played with him in Miami. He is as real as you're ever going to get as a human being. But the thing about Pablo is that if you were to sit there and say, man, what a beautiful day. Like, look at the trees. Pablo would be like, yeah, but the roots, you know, the roots under the ground and the nourishment of life. And you're just like, holy moly, what has happened? What did I just walk into? And that's Pops. And that's the brilliance about Pablo, because he's the guy that you want to fight for. He's the guy you want to play for. Obviously, he's been at a World Cup. He's played at the highest level. And when you talk about an absolute competitor, the only thing that's close in terms of a reference point to Real Salt Lake would be that he and Kyle Beckerman are cut from the same DNA strand, where the moment that they walk in the locker room, it's high fives, it's hugs, it's vibes. And the moment that they cross that line, they are ruthless competitors that want to tear your heart out and show it to you. So for the standard that's being set, I think that mentality is being cultivated. It's more about us than it is about them. But I would think it would be naive in a private moment to suggest that Pablo isn't looking forward to the opportunity because it's been a while. And the last time they went down to Miami, I think they put a good account in for themselves in the second half. But how do you manage and manipulate a moment where also, you know, the variation in this conversation is it's an Eastern Conference opponent, so it's a great opportunity for a big pop and not having to deal with the proverbial 6-point swing of a game against a Western Conference opponent. These are the moments you got to take advantage of, and this will be the biggest match that we've seen probably historically for different reasons at America First Field, and I cannot wait to get inside of that stadium because I know all the fans are going to try to get there early to get as many pictures, as many videos, as many TikToks, as many Instagrams as they possibly can if it's anything like what we saw out in Harriman yesterday afternoon when Miami was training at the facility.
I introduced you as Apple TV's Brian Dunseth. Of course, that shorts you because you also work for TNT and you're on the pregame, halftime, and postgame for U.S. national team telecasts. And I'm curious what you think. What has Diego Luna accomplished here as far as making the World Cup roster? What does he still need to accomplish? Where do you think he stands in that process?
DJ, you keep dropping this resume. Not only am I going to have to Venmo you, but you might get me that elusive Rocky Mountain Emmy at some point. So I appreciate all those. What does Diego Luna have to do? Well, he's got to play. And I would say that 2 weeks ago, the rescheduling of the game in Seattle didn't help, right? Because he needs as many minutes and as many games, as many opportunities to really, I think, solidify, reiterate to Mauricio Pochettino that he's the guy. I was understanding of him being left off, Diego Luna being left off the roster heading into the Portugal and the Belgian game, because it was for all the obvious reasons. It was for the reason that he had a knee injury, he was returning from that knee injury, and he'd only played, you know, a short spurt. And you know, listen, I've been around Mauricio Pochettino for the better part of 2 years now, and the one thing that he's always really talked about is I've got to make sure that these guys are in the best run of form, in the best fitness, and the best confidence for making this World Cup roster. So when I choose my World Cup roster, these guys are absolutely flying. That's come with some really interesting decisions, elements, and justifications from Mauricio Pochettino. The one thing there's two things that really play into the favor of Diego Luna. Number one, Patrick Agyemang tore his Achilles tendon, probably within 7 days of departing U.S. camp after the game against Belgium. He was going to play an impact role because there was really no one like his player profile, meaning his size, his athleticism, the way he plays in this roster. He was different than Flo Balogun and Ricardo Pepi. So that will have significant effects on Diego Luna because that'll open up another attacking position. On top of that, Gio Reyna, who for me is really a unicorn and a competitor, a 1v1 competitor for that number 10 spot in that midfield. He's only played 5 minutes since returning to Germany after only playing around 30 minutes in the 2 games. And one of the things that Mauricio Pochettino was asking was, could Gio Reyna stay as healthy as possible despite playing very minimal minutes? And that's a big question mark. So the great news, Diego Luna in the past 2 games has scored in the 4th minute and the 5th minute, respectively. I think he's been really strong. He sees the game, he plays the game, and I found myself during the Portugal and Belgium match, DJ, thinking to myself, man, 60th minute, 70th minute, this would be a great time to have a great pop in the crowd for a guy like Diego Luna to step on the field. Instantaneously recognizable the moment that he steps on the field for club or country. And despite probably disappointment for the Gold Cup final against Mexico for his individual performance, I think he's been fantastic every time he's put on the U.S. men's national team jersey. So a huge, huge opportunity. And don't think for a second that Jesus Perez, Miggy, Tony Jimenez, all the staff members for U.S. Soccer won't be paying attention this game to see how Diego Luna gets on against Lionel Messi and Inter Miami.
You touched on the new ownership. Are we with this new ownership, and they got a little bit of a rivalry with the Jazz ownership there, and not really discussed in the community, but it's out there. Do you think that we are set up, or they are set up for let's try to spit it out, sustained success, that this isn't just, what they had a couple years ago and they had a great first half and then it petered out, that maybe we can have a run here?
I hope so. But then again, I thought that was going to be the case when David Blitzer had majority ownership and Ryan Smith was involved. And the moment that, NHL hockey was confirmed, Ryan Smith was really no longer around. That was at least my perception of calling games at the stadium. Listen, I don't think it's lost on anybody the narrative that was created around the Utah Jazz previous to their, post their ownership or during their ownership. What I can speak to is just my own perception. I think with these additions in this winter transfer window and the departures, I think there's been subtraction has equaled multiplication. And by that, I mean that Pablo has got a new staff that I think are all on the same page. And I think all of these players were specifically brought in to be built inside of this new playing structure with 3 in the back. And that's huge because not too often you have this real primordial kind of conflict and battle within any team in Major League Soccer. That is, how do I develop local players? How do I identify the best young talent in the country? How do I get them within my academy? How do then I push them into Real Monarchs and or the first team, while having an owner that from public pressure needs to spend millions and millions of dollars just not to compete, just to maintain their status of competition in the Western Conference with the nuclear arms spending that's happening. And on top of that, how does a general manager or a sporting director pick the right players that then the coach has this philosophy, this tactical nuance of trying to get the best out of? So it's a yin and yang battle constantly. But so far, so good. I think Steve Starks and everybody involved in the partnership and seeing, Scott Crace taking a step back from the Blitzer group, and then Jason Kreis having a huge role and being, I think so far, knocking it out of the park with the decision-making behind the scenes on both the Royals and RSL and the academy setup and the infrastructure behind the scenes. You got soccer people making soccer decisions, and so far, I think the support of Miller Sports and Entertainment has been obvious. And my hope is that it's just the beginning of turning Real Salt Lake into a perennial contender on this Western Conference.
Certainly I think the Miller Group led by Steve Starks has done a great job of threading the needle and figuring out what was missing, but at the same time not changing stuff that was working. Front office executives, scouts, Pablo in the coaching roles, some of the players who've stayed. Great that they held on to those. They didn't need to change everything, but they have spent money. But Dunny, to PK's point about 2 years ago, selling Gomez, and I get it, and they're going to flip the calendar, and it's a problem right now, but selling him in the middle of the year, I mean, there was no way for the team to recreate what they lost. And then Chicho created his own problems, and that snowballed things further. If Luna goes to the World Cup and stars, and then there's this notion that maybe Gozo could go, if one or both of those guys gets moved to Europe for big money, this team's going to look pretty different pretty quickly. And probably not for the better.
Yeah, I get it, and that's always a concern. Listen, for Andres Gomez, $13 million, you got to take that money. I mean, he had 1 6-month window, and he hasn't, by the way, hasn't even been close to the player that he was at Real Salt Lake during those 6 months. He went to France, flared out spectacularly, and now is down in Brazil. Listen, I take your point in full. There was in that. We have to acknowledge the timeline of the sale and the process. The fact that if owners are on their way out, they're not willing to spend money on a product that they're just going to obviously sell and cash in on. Yep. New incoming ownership has to bet in. They have to actually have full control, documents signed, to be able to go and actually spend that money. And then behind the scenes, inevitably in that transition of power, you're going to have power struggles. And the power struggle ultimately is one with Jason Christ coming back to the club and be given more and more of the ability and the aptitude of making great decisions, regardless of however the tenure of a manager looked, post his departure from RSL. So you're right. There's a lot of, as I said, when Deloy Hansen was forced to give up ownership, I continue to say next to you on that desk, pregame, postgame, there are great people inside this club that know exactly what it takes for this team to compete at the highest level. And I think this year in particular, we're starting to see all of those base formulas. But to your point, RSL inadvertently backed themselves into a really tidy corner. And that is, if you're going to sell Andres Gomez for $13 million, how can you possibly sell either to the league from a perception-wise or from a fan base who's putting their hard-earned money and their credit cards down to go watch these teams? How can you justify selling Diego Luna for anything less than $10 million? And if you're looking at comparing player profiles, if you said to me today, and I say this with all due respect to both players that I'm about to name, if you said, if Diego Luna has a higher chance, a higher ceiling of leaving versus Xavier Gozo having a higher chance of leaving, I would say right now, Xavier Gozo goes for more money than Diego Luna would go for on the international market. Just because his player profile, his athleticism, his size, and the fact that he runs that line is a different conversation than the way that Luna plays that pocket 10. So two different players, two different profiles. But if you said to me right now, if I predicted which one to go for higher money, I would say that Gozo would go for higher money.
All right, there's Brian Dunseth. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.